My name is Videobob, and I have an addiction to Rolls-Royces. My Rolls-Royce videos seem to get the most amount of views, and I thought, how often do I really get all three of them out and let you take a look at them? So I thought I'd kind of go through them, just a little bit of, I guess, a little bit of a flex video, and we're going to take a look at the three cars that I have. This one here is my 1967 Silver Shadow. This is an older model of the car, built-in crew. The traditional Rolls-Royce fans will love it, and it has a very interesting story, and we'll briefly go over that. This one is the one that I just picked up in Sacramento and drove it back all the way to Dallas. This is a 2006 Phantom. And of course, the one over there on the end is our two-tone 2004. That one is the one that was famously the cheapest Rolls-Royce Phantom ever sold in America last year, until I got this 2006. We're going to talk a little bit about the differences between the two Phantoms and why I have two Phantoms, and maybe a quick look at this 67. This car was owned by a lady named Nancy B. Hammond. She was one of the richest philanthropists that lived in Dallas. She gave over $70 million to Dallas, and if you live around here, you may have seen the Hammond wing of your local hospital or at the Performing Arts Center, all over the places. She was a very amazing woman. Google her name and look her up. She was friends with Larry Hagman, the actor that played J.R. on the TV show Dallas, and she used to loan this car to him and let him drive it around. So he would drive around in his cowboy hat in Dallas and up and down South Fork Ranch. Well, they had an auction at South Fork Ranch, and I was there with some of my friends, and this car came rolling across the block, and people just weren't bidding on it. I raised my hand. I won this car for $10,000. A running, driving 1967 Silver Shadow, white with a black interior, for 10 grand? Hell yeah. Drove it home, and it's a great car. The thing fires right up, runs like a champ. Needs a little bit of loving because, look, it's a pretty old car, but it's a heck of a buy. And you know, you can pick these old Silver Shadows up pretty cheap. You just got to be careful what you're getting. A lot of them are in bad condition. If you're willing to spend a little bit of money, 10, 15 grand, you can get one that runs okay and it's a decent car. Really premium examples might go for $20,000 or $30,000, but this one has a great story. This is a famous Dallas car, and I am proud to own it. My 2004 Phantom has been extensively covered here on this channel, so if this is the first time watching the video, go back and check some of my previous videos about the car. I bought it about a year ago for $65,000. It was a rental vehicle, had 3 or 4 owners. It was wrapped in white vinyl and black, had these big goofy wheels on it. So we pulled the wrap off, repainted the car titanium again, and added the black on top. I love the two-tone colors. Found these black wheels off of a Ghost. These are original 21-inch black Rolls-Royce wheels with the run-flat tires on them. And just did a lot of work to the car. We did a lot of mechanical stuff to the car, which I'm going to talk about. You know, almost every single one of these is going to require suspension and brake work. Even if you find a car with very low miles, even if it's been just sitting around for a long time, the rubber on the suspension on these wears out really quickly. So almost every single time you buy a Phantom that's got more than a few miles on it and it's more than a few years old, you're going to want to do the lower control arms, various linkages, maybe replace the rotors, brake pads. It's not really that expensive. You can do it for a few $1,000s, but it's something that you're going to do on a Phantom probably every 30, 40,000 miles. It's just the way it is. The car weighs a lot. As you can see, I'm dwarfed by this thing. It's a big, big car. So this car's had all of those things done. I do plan on selling this car now that I've gotten this other one. And, you know, we're going to talk about the reasons why here in just a minute. Okay, well, this is my 2006. What's the point? Why would I buy another Phantom that's just like my other one? Almost the same color, same black interior. Well, I'm going to explain it. Every Phantom is bespoke, meaning it is custom built for the owner and custom ordered when you buy it new. No two Phantoms are alike, unless of course you order two Phantoms alike. You'll never find another one that's exactly like a different one. Matter of fact, they hand make each manual to each car specifically based on the things that you requested. Every single thing is bespoke about the car. The wheels, the paint, the color of the interior, the carpet, the headliner, whether or not it has a sunroof. Every single thing, whether it's a pinstripe or even whether it says Phantom on the dash, or like this car has embroidered headrest and this one doesn't. Everything is different about the car. Now, this other Phantom is no slouch, but it's pretty much a base model Phantom. Doesn't have a sunroof, doesn't have TVs and footrest and curtains. Really doesn't have any of those things. It's just a base model Phantom, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I wanted more of the technological features, and you just can't retrofit the cars. The way they're designed, you know, the stereo system is a 15-speaker system that's connected through digital fiber optics. You can't change out the speakers easily or the head unit. You can't just take it down to Best Buy and throw a head unit in it. It doesn't work that way. So keep that in mind when you're shopping for a Phantom and you want to buy one, that you're not going to be able to easily upgrade much of anything. You might be able to change the floor mats and things like that, but the way it is the way it is. You just got to leave it that way. This car came up for sale, and it was actually a theft recovery. It was a salvage. No damage was done to the car, but a bunch of parts were stolen off of it. Now, the parts that were stolen off of it, I'm pretty positive were stolen by the junkyard that had the car, because you would have tools to remove the spirit of ecstasy. I ended up paying almost $1,000 for this hood ornament, and I was thankful to get it, because this thing actually sells for $2,500 new. They had stolen the hood ornament, they stole the umbrellas, which I've replaced, the floor mats, the books, little things like that, hubcaps, right? But I got this car for $58,000. Unbelievable. And you know, if the guy had just put a little time and effort, the guy that sold it, I'm sorry, Vic, the guy that sold me the car, nicest guy in the world, but I got to criticize you here a little bit. If the guy had just replaced some of the missing parts, bought some hubcaps, and cleaned the thing up, he could have gotten a lot more money for it. He really could have. He was a little lazy. I'm sorry to say that. Greatest guy in the world, but that's just my opinion. I think he could have put a little bit of effort into the car and got a lot more money for it. Now, within a few days and a trip on eBay, I've replaced a bunch of the missing parts. Now, this car has got all the stuff on it that my other one didn't have. It's got the sunroof, it's got front and rear cameras, it's got a power closed hydraulic trunk, it's got the TVs in the seats, it's got footrests down below. I mean, and it's got less miles, and it's in flawless shape. There's not a scratch on this car. I drove it from Sacramento down through Beverly Hills, through LA, through Phoenix, all the way back home to Dallas, didn't have a single problem. I was cruising at 120 miles an hour out in the desert. There's a helicopter flying on my shot. Get out of here. Okay, so here's a quick example of some things that you might want to find on your Phantom and why I changed the two here. All Rolls-Royces have a trunk that you can pop with the remote. Now this one is just the regular style trunk. It pops up. You have to close it manually, like a plebeian, as Doug DeMuro would say. This one over here has the power hydraulic trunk. You see it opens a little slowly because it's hydraulically powered, and it doesn't go up as high. Notice this one, how that one pops up quickly and it goes up much higher than this one, because it's a completely different mechanism. This is just a spring with a shock, and you got to close it. This one, you can't use the remote to close it. You do have to press a button, but it is hydraulically closed. And when I say hydraulically, there is a huge hydraulic ram here that connects to a pump over here with a reservoir. There's a lot that goes into that, but it's a different experience. I hated having to close the trunk on this thing like a peasant. I wanted it hydraulically powered. However, I did notice that when this one's open versus this one's nice and high up at, you know, I can get in here easy. This one, it's slower to open, and I've hit my head on this a few times. Look how much lower the trunk is. I mean, see where it is? It's like to my ear, and this one's almost over my head. So, you just can't win. Oh well. At least now I've got the power trunk. And that's something that I really wanted on the car. It wasn't something that was going to be easily retrofittable, and that was another reason why I got this car. Another really cool thing I wanted about this car was the sunroof. You can't just put a sunroof in a Rolls-Royce. You have to order it that way. I mean, it's not like the 80s where you take it down to local custom car shop and they get a jigsaw out and cut out a piece of the roof. I mean, I guess you could do that, but I'm not going to do that. Now I have the sunroof and I love it. You know, you can even do this little tilt, pop it up like that, little of the air out. Also, you'll notice the wood in this car is a darker walnut burr, it's called. I actually would prefer the black piano finish, but that's just really hard to find. But I am loving this darker wood. It's very, very classy. Not that the other one isn't. The other one has this nice bird's eye maple. Somebody told me, though, they looked like the car had a 2x4 running along the door. They're right. They were kidding. It does. It is almost like a 2x4. I mean, it's a nice wood. But between the two, I think everyone will agree that the darker wood is a little nicer. Most of the features on both of the cars is pretty much the same. I mean, they both have things like these mirrors fold in, the Spirit of Ecstasy hood ornament goes up and down when you lock the car. They have HID headlights, you know, those aspects of the car are the same. You'll notice these lines that are in both of the windows. They're electrically heated glass for defrosting. These cars are mostly used in a cold climate when you think about it. But something that is on this particular car that wasn't available on this one is the front and rear cameras. You see this? There's a little prism here, a little camera there. If you're shopping for a Phantom, you'll notice that a lot of sellers, they don't know a lot about these cars, and they won't bother even listing these other features. The guy that sold this car didn't even know that any of these things I'm talking about were options. He just figured all Phantoms had power closed trunks and all of them had cameras. He didn't even mention any of that stuff in his ad. And I kept hounding him and asking him, does it have this, does it have that? And he was getting annoyed with me. But he doesn't realize that every car is bespoke. Everything, even if it says Phantom on the dash or embroidered on the headrest, everything is completely bespoke on the car. And I wanted the front and rear cameras. Now this camera is really weird. It's not a front camera. It's actually a left and right camera. What it's designed to do is if you were pulling out of like some hedges or a driveway or an alley, this thing is, you've got how many feet? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you got like 7 feet before you get back to your face, right? You can't see what's coming. So how it works is you flash your headlight flasher and it turns on this screen, which turns on this camera, and it can see left and right down the sidewalk or the road. So you poke the nose out just a little bit, hit your flasher, and you can see the curb down below and you can see down each side of the road. How cool is that? So it's just a cool little thing. When you go into reverse, the rear camera comes on just like every other car. You also have your choice between the cameras or using what's called the park distance control, which both of these cars have, which is a pretty standard feature on the Phantom. It gives you a little picture of your Phantom and a radar screen around it. And that's pretty common on most cars, the little beep, beep, beep thing to let you know how close you are to something. But this gives you a visual map of whether or not you're about to hit something. But it can only see large things like fences, you know, a small, or like a wall. But if you have like a little pole or something, it may not see that, so you got to be really careful. This is a big, big vehicle. Backing this thing up is just like trying to back up one of my big trucks. It's actually 6 inches longer than my Ford Excursion. All right, so the back of this car doesn't suck. I mean, look, it's nice and roomy. You've got these little tray tables back here. Mine are mirrored. This particular car has a lighted headliner, which you've seen in other videos, where it's been custom done. They've taken the headliner out and they've added the starlights to it. But that's pretty much it. You have flat floors, no footrests, no privacy curtains, no refrigerator. You have individual climate controls, which is a great thing. You have a basic armrest here you put your arm down on. And like I said, it doesn't suck. It's a nice car, and just like all Phantoms, they have the power closing doors. But see, my other Phantom, this one, the 2006. All right. Same black interior, lucky me. They're usually some kind of peanut butter cream color. I don't like that color. I like the black. Also has the tray tables, but these have the matching, book matching ended walnut burr. In the back of the seats, you have little TV screens that pop out. And then inside this little armrest is a controller that pops out that matches the one up front. Little dial controller. I can control the screens back here. You have a 6-disc CD changer in the front, a 6-disc DVD changer down below. You also have satellite radio, Bluetooth audio for the phone, FM and AM radio, weather channel, and television. So while you're back here in this car, if back there you have no control over the radio in the other car, your choices are radio and CD. It does have the 6-disc changer, but who's listening to CDs anymore anyway? But to the back of this car, you have so much more entertainment options, and down below you have these raised footrests for your feet. Just adds a little bit extra comfort. The little controller is kind of fun to play with. You have the screens, and it's a little outdated because this is 2006 technology. But you got to think, you know, the guys that are trying to simulate this kind of thing with their you know, like their custom cars where they're putting TVs in the headrests and the larger wheels and the hood ornaments, they're trying to simulate the look and feel of a Phantom. Phantom invented this, right? The whole idea was giving the maximum amount of comfort and entertainment to the people sitting in the back, where you can sit here with a tray table, you got drink holders down here, you can have your lunch, work on your computer, watch television, watch DVDs, listen to satellite radio, Bluetooth, all those things. That car over there doesn't have any of that stuff. There's no Bluetooth. There's a radio. It's got a radio. You can listen to the radio in style. Now look, this is 1967 technology. You can't expect anything in this car to be like one of those. But I do find it cool that those cars are reminiscent of these, the same way the wood is done in here. Even these vents are exactly the same in that car. They're exactly the same. All those years later, they have a real call to tradition in there. The clock on the dash, the way this is laid out. I mean, this has been moved over there, but the way the dash is laid out, the gauges, the buttons, the feel. Even though that this is a vintage car from the 60s, it's still very reminiscent to the newer cars. And I think that that is what makes Rolls-Royce so cool. The leather, the smell of these cars. There is a smell that it's like opening up a cigar box, you know, full of roses. There's a musty wood leather smell that only people who know older Rolls-Royces know what I'm talking about. It's not a bad smell. Yankee Candle should make a scent called Old Rolls-Royce. I would buy it. The dual carburetor V8 motor in these old Rolls-Royces is something that they used for a really long time. They eventually went to fuel injection, of course. Check out the shock towers on these things. They are gigantic. But this motor is a workhorse, and it still runs and drives great, fires right up. And this thing makes a lot of noise. This is a hydraulic system. The suspension and brakes on these old cars are all run by hydraulics. That was eventually replaced by pneumatic systems over on the Phantom. First time I looked in here, I was like, what am I looking at? I have no idea what I'm looking at. I still don't know what I'm looking at. The V12 that they use in these cars now is an impressive motor. I mean, it is out of a BMW 760 Li series, but it's been modified. 2 alternators in this thing. It's not slow. I mean, it'll do 0 to 60 in about 6 seconds. It's about the same performance speed-wise as you'd get out of like a new Dodge Charger or something. Think about what it's moving around. It's moving a pretty big car. And like I said, driving back from California out in the desert, I set the cruise control about 100 to 120 depending on where I was, and I could do that for hours. with very little effort. The motor is totally silent when it's running. I mean, when you're sitting in the car, the only way you know that the motor's on is because the little indication that says power reserve 100% and everything's running. But you can't hear it and you can't feel it. It's amazing. You know, there's people out there who are passionate about cars, and what they care about is like driving an old Countach or maybe an old Porsche, and they're shifting and it's vibrating and it's making noise and there's all sorts of feel and feedback. This is the opposite of that. There's no feedback. That you could drive it with your pinky. You don't feel anything, you don't hear anything. And if that's what you're looking for, well, this is the car. I talked about the hydraulic suspension system on the old Silver Shadows. This is what's in the Phantom. This is one of the pneumatic shock towers that goes in this car. Now, oh, it's heavy. We're going to replace the front air springs in this 2006. They're a little worn, a little squishy, and they leak. No, normally these, from Rolls-Royce, I think they're like 4,500 bucks a piece. I've seen them online for like 2,500 bucks a piece. I found a place that sells them refurbished for like 500-600 bucks a piece. So for that money, I'm gonna go ahead and replace the two front air springs. And I gotta put this down, it's heavy. Anyway, this is what holds that car up. Pretty impressive. This is one of the brake rotors on this car. They're about $600 a piece, and you can see they are not messing around. These are bigger than the ones that are on my Dodge Dually truck. This thing weighs, 50, 60 pounds. And, well, I'm out of shape. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the rotors on this car and the brake pads. To me, it's worth the money. Just about any Rolls-Royce Phantom that's gonna have over, I'd say 40, 50,000 miles, you're gonna have to do this. Expect to spend at least 1,500 to 2,000 bucks doing the brakes. And you wanna do it before they go bad on you, because then you'll have to replace the sensors, which tell you they're bad. And then that's more money and work. I gotta go put this down. I gotta put this down. Oh, I'm fat. Oh, I'm out of shape. Holy shit. Oh my God. I should have got somebody else to do that. Okay, Rolls-Royce wheels are always an issue. On the first series of Phantom, they had these hubcaps flat like a saucer, right? They had these PAX wheels. They're called PAX, built by Michelin. It was a run-flat system where they put a plastic donut on the mounted to the rim. Had to have a special tire, special machine. Well, they went out of business. They quit making those wheels and tires. So if you find an early Phantom, a 2003, 4, 5, says it has original wheels on it, PAX system wheels, you're gonna have to just dumpster those wheels. You can't repurpose the rims or the tires. You're gonna have to buy new wheels. And you can either go with aftermarket ones or find used Phantom wheels that somebody took off the original wheels to put on aftermarket wheels, which is dumb. My other car has ghost wheels on it. So these were the PAX system wheels, the hubcaps. Notice how flat this is. And that's not what you want. Those won't fit. So if you see those for sale, avoid those. This is the one that goes on this series, right? And it has a push button system that, I'm getting my hands all dirty just touching them. But it kind of goes on like this. And then they lock on like that. Really easy to steal. Because all you got to do is push the button, let me see. And then they just come off, and some punk runs off with your hubcaps that are 500 bucks a piece. On the later series, like my other car, they just snap on. And they're just as easy to steal. You just put something under there and pry them off. And those are the three types of wheel covers. On these older wheels, on a lot of them, you'll see that they have these little bars here. Here's one. You can buy these replacement bars for like 20 bucks, and you glue it back on there. They're held on with some kind of glue or tape. And I've ordered a bunch of these to replace the ones that were missing. Perfect example of the guy that sold me this car. He could have put a little bit of money into the thing and replaced the hubcaps, replaced these. It would have been a whole different car. It would have looked complete, right? He could have put in the umbrellas, the hood ornament, spent a little bit of money. If he'd have probably put another couple of $1,000 in this car, I think he could have sold it for 75, 80 grand. That's just my personal opinion. I'd have paid that for this car. But people who buy Rolls-Royces, they don't want projects. They don't want incomplete cars. I took advantage of that situation, which is what I try to tell you guys to do on this channel. You can find a car like this. It's got some miles on it, needs a little bit of work here and there. And hey, you got everything you need, and you did it for 10% of its value. And look, here's DHL bringing me more Rolls-Royce parts right now. Well, guys, I could talk to you about these cars, these Rolls-Royce cars, all day long. This video could go on for hours. I'm gonna do some extensive walkthrough videos of the new car, showing how the Bluetooth works, how the video system works, some of the other features that I think are really cool. And we'll go into that a lot more depth. So if you're really into these cars, into Rolls-Royce videos, please tune in, subscribe, like, and share. Go back and look at some of my old videos. The video we did on that car, changing the oil, has over 1 million views on it. And I assure you, we're gonna be doing a ton of work to this car. We're gonna be doing the shocks and the brakes and the lower control arms and all kinds of things, and also putting in a custom adaptation I've found that will allow you to have Apple CarPlay through the factory screen. That's gonna be coming up soon, along with a remote app that will remotely start the car with your phone. There are some things you can do to the car. Not a lot, but there are some things. So we're gonna be doing some stuff to this car. Tune in for that. This other 2004 Phantom is going to be going up for sale soon. We got to do a couple little maintenance items to it, and when I'm ready, I'll do a for sale video on that car, and this could be your new Phantom. Get it for a great deal. The old White Shadow, I'm gonna keep that in storage. It's just a beautiful car. It's got beautiful, wonderful history. Look up Nancy B. Hammond, find out a little bit about her. She was an amazing individual. And what else can I tell you? Thanks for watching. Hey, we're almost to 100,000 subscribers, thanks to you. And yes, I do dress this way all the time. I have like 6 pairs of these pants and about 40 of these shirts. And amazing. By the way, shout out to my man in New Mexico at the Ramada Inn. Hooked me up with a room. Guy recognized me walking through the door. They were sold out, but he found me a room. Thank you. Hey, I don't know if you noticed my shoes. Got these from Udandy, unsolicited plug. I'm not getting paid for this, but I have my own line of shoes, Videobob shoes. They're suede black with red, say Videobob on the sole. Got my own shoes. Hey, anyway, catch you guys later. Tune in. I'll see you in the next video. And here it comes.
Hello, this is Weird Al Yankovic, and you're watching Videobob. Aren't you?